Welcome to He Changed the World from Forest Baptist Church, a series of talks about Jesus Christ from Mark's Gospel, recorded by me, David Last. Talk number 6, Sabbath, Mark chapter 2 verse 23 to chapter 3 verse 6. Jesus' society was filled with invisible lines that shouldn't be crossed. They were the rules and restrictions to be kept if you wanted to be respected and accepted. But Jesus stepped over them, saying that God was doing something new and he would not be limited by others. Of course, every community, every size of community, from countries down to school gangs, has invisible lines, rules to keep. You can do this, but not that. You can say this, but not that. Sometimes even you can think this, but not that. To some extent, we appreciate these rules. When they stop bad behaviour, we want a society which says, you cannot steal, you cannot murder, you cannot rape. But sometimes societies go beyond sins and crimes to draw lines which simply protect their own obsessions and hang-ups. Rules with power to take away personal choice and freedom. And with the rules come the enforcers, who love to make sure all the rules are kept. Here in Mark's Gospel, Jesus is facing rules and enforcers like that. They deal with the Sabbath. In his country, Judea, Sabbath is the name for Saturday, a day protected by law. It's based on God's command at the start of the Bible to keep one day in every 7 as special for him, a day when everyone stops doing their regular work and regular leisure activities to make time for God. So on the Sabbath, their God-given law insists that those who control the work of others, employers, etc., have to give a day off. The workers have to be free from their duties for the sake of God. This law was a good thing. It prevented bosses from imposing unending labour. It gave people freedom and time, especially to know God. It was honourable, but it got spoiled by rules. Around Jesus, in our story, are people who have enhanced the Sabbath law with their rules. They've come up with a complete Sabbath rule book to help everyone know how to keep the law down to the finest detail. An example of that appears when Jesus is walking through a field with his friends. Some of them pick the grain in the field as they go, just to snack on. But picking grain is farmers' work, and that's banned in the rule book for the Sabbath. So when the enforcers notice, well, they're quick to shout at Jesus, "Why are your followers breaking the Sabbath day?" But Jesus can't be doing with it. He will keep God's good Sabbath law. He will not obey their rule book. Why? Because their rules don't make the Sabbath better. They spoil it. They make it a burden to be carried, the very opposite of God's intentions for it. With them, the Sabbath is like a slave master, beating them for the smallest mistake. Whereas Jesus, he sees the Sabbath as given by God for the benefit of people. It was to do people good, not bully them. And Jesus will keep it that way. That really comes home when he walks into a religious building. A man stands there in suffering. Jesus is able to help him. However, the invisible lines in the room say, "Don't do it, no healing on the Sabbath." So Jesus asks a simple question. Should I do good to this man or ignore his suffering? The enforcers want to answer, "Come back tomorrow." But suddenly that seems cruel. so they stay quiet. Jesus just shakes his head. Why can't they see what they've done? The Sabbath should bless. It should bring freedom. But their rules have vandalised it. Do they really think God wouldn't want this man helped? Jesus can't be doing with it, so he heals him. And what do the enforcers do? They hate Jesus. They'd happily kill this meddlesome preacher. What do you think? This true story shows what we human beings have done to life. All of us have wandered from the good ways God made us to live by. We do this at the personal level and cause misery and upset, leaving us feel enslaved by life. And we do it at the level of community. Whether through religion or through politics, we set up rules and proclaim them good. Yet if we look carefully, we see the hardness they often create, the harm they often cause. Pride, however, often stops us from looking. We know what's best after all. You don't, says Jesus. You really don't. Come back to God and find the truth about Him, about yourself, about life. That's where freedom lies. Thanks for listening. A reading from Mark's Gospel now follows, and then I hope you'll come back next time to hear more from this Gospel.
Mark chapter 2 verse 23 to chapter 3 verse 6. One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the cornfields, and as the disciples walked along, they began to pick some ears of corn. The Pharisee said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He answered, "Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need? In the days of Abiathar the high priest, he entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful for only priests to eat, and he also gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath." Another time he went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely, to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up, in front of everyone." And Jesus asked, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save a life or to kill?" But they remained silent. He looked round at them in anger, and, deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. Then the Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus.